Welcome to I Wrote That, a podcast for entrepreneurs who are navigating the crazy world of authorship. Whether you're just starting out or already established, we want to help you navigate the publishing world with confidence. My name is Larissa Soehn, and this channel is brought to you by Next Page Publishing. With the help of our industry partners, we bring you the insights on the most challenging yet most rewarding parts of being an authorpreneur, along with the actionable tips to help you move your brand and your business forward. Don't forget to download your free copy of our book, Author Your Way to Your Next 100K, by visiting nextpagepublishing.net/author your way. Let's meet our next guest. Welcome back to another episode of I Wrote That. My name is Larissa Soehn, and I am your host. I am also the CEO of Next Page Publishing, where we help entrepreneurs not only write books that are worthy of their brand and then publish them, but think about the holistic side of the marketing aspect, which is perfect for this next guest that we have on. Kerry, she works with established coaches, authors, and other experts like you to create their own profitable and impactful group program. And I love this because there's so many ways to market your book. So to have someone specifically like Kerry come on and talk about groups, it's going to be an incredible conversation. So a lot of people, when it comes to their book, they fumble with turning their book into a group. And the sad part is that no matter how awesome their ideas really are, if the structure you put around your group is not solid, it won't work. And you must have a thoughtful structure all the way from the big idea to the tiny little details. You need a map. And don't get Kerry, you and I could talk about maps because I am all about the maps. So as a group program architect, Kerry has created and led over 100 group programs for thousands of people and helped more than 200 people lead their own group, which means she can help you and probably me with the map for turning your book into a great program. Welcome, Kerry.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and this is actually an incredibly timely episode because we are in the process of beta testing our very own group inside of Next Page Publishing. And so you work specifically with entrepreneurs, coaches, and authors, which is who we work with. So maybe just talk a little bit about when you talk about group, because I know there's a lot of ways we can apply that word. What is it that you're actually talking about?
Yeah, and I love that you bring that up because groups can be so many different things and people see it as different things. What I focus on when I'm talking about a group is that you have a start date and an end date, which makes it different from a community or a membership, that you're doing something live, so in person or online or some kind of combination of those. So it's different than a course, and you are helping people to accomplish something. There's some kind of action. I have this bias for action that's just ingrained in me. And groups are where we want to be able to take action. And so that's also often the difference between a speaking engagement or a group is that idea of you're not just there for the information and the content, it's you're really helping them to take what you're talking about and put it into practice.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of the time when I'm talking with my authors or any authors, really, we're thinking about I'm going to talk about the book because why wouldn't a publisher talk about the book? We think about the book as a part of the journey, right? That map that you're talking about, and the group is that evolution from book, or it could even be the lead into the book, depending on where you position it. But it is a step in the journey, and I like that you link it back to action because a step in the journey with no action is really just standing still.
Yes. Yeah. And listen, there's a time for information. There's a time when what we're trying to do is gather knowledge. And most of us pick up the book to change something, right? Like, unless it's a fiction book, and that's a whole other thing. But if I'm picking up a nonfiction book that's going to help me with something, my relationship, my business, my life, my health, whatever, I'm picking that book up because I want some kind of information to then help me make a change in my life. And what happens, and listen, I read tons, I love books, and so many times I get the inspiration and then I walk away from the book and it's like, wah, wah, like great idea, but how did I put it into practice? And for me, in my biased opinion, groups are so powerful because you take that inspiration and you have a whole bunch of people with that inspiration that are helping each other and you're helping them to actually take action. And that's where that impact that you imagined as you were going through the writing process, which is I've not done it myself. And I know it's grueling. I know it takes a lot. I know there's different parts of it. But when you're doing it, you're imagining the impact, that ripple that your book is going to have. And groups are such a great way to help that ripple really happen.
It's so true. And again, it's that step on the journey, right? We want, as heart-centered entrepreneurs, we want to help people move closer to their goals. And it's so sad when authors look at their book and think this is the solution because it's not. And it's heartbreaking for me to tell people, like, yeah, I know you worked on this for 3 years, but actually, unless you put systems around it to really make a difference in someone's lives, it's not going to, because like you said, you're going to read it and then put it on a shelf and walk away. That is not, as entrepreneurs, what we want our readers to be doing. We want them to be seeing us as the long-term solution for them. And groups are a huge part of this. Now, I'm going to bring my own biases into this because I think you'll have a heyday with them. I, for a long time, did not believe in group coaching. I personally struggle inside groups because of my personality type. I don't, and I ADHD. I cannot linger on something longer than the 12 seconds it takes to
Yeah.
explain it. But we have, like I said, we're introducing a group program because I started to realize, well, my point of view might not be the only point of view. Oh, look at me grow. But there is such a special connection and camaraderie that happens in a group. And I'm sure that is a huge part of what you're building out is not just the coach facilitating it, but what happens within the community group members themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of my taglines is connection over content. And so most people, especially when you have a book, you approach the group from a content aspect, right? What in my book am I going to bring to the group? Which is absolutely part of the process and part of what you want to do. But more importantly, is how do I help people who are interested and inspired by my work to connect with each other? Because here's what I know for sure. When I make a promise to myself that I'm going to do something, on a good day, it's a 50-50 as to whether or not I'm going to do it. If I pay someone and they're coaching me, that might go up to 75%. But at the end of the day, I'm still paying them. So, if I don't do it, we can keep going. But there's something about a group where I see other people doing the things. Suddenly, I believe I can do it a lot more than when my coach told me I could. When somebody is expecting me to report back and talk about what I did with something, I'm not showing up having not done that. Like there's no way because I don't want to disappoint, I don't want to be embarrassed. I want to be a really good member of this group that I'm part of. And so that's where I think the power of groups really comes in is the momentum that gets created when you're starting with similar people who are kind of in a similar spot and suddenly you're noticing people are taking action and they're getting results. There's a belief in yourself that I think it feels magical. It's not, but it feels magical in how that happens in groups. And then it's like popcorns. It's like pop, 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 pop. And everybody is really kind of working towards their own goals.
Yeah, and I think, oh, that's such a good way of putting it. We are working towards our own goals, but we're doing it in a group of people who get it. Like, they're walking a similar path to you. And what I found, so I'm going into my fourth year of entrepreneurship, which is insane. And in my third year, I realized I was getting really lonely. And then when I stepped back and looked at it, I was like, well, this is a bed of my own making. I purposely went after one-on-one coaches. I went courses I did them self-paced, not groups, so I could do them on my own. And then all of a sudden, well, hello, I'm alone. And as a learner, not even as a coach or a business, as someone who wants to thrive and succeed in life and all of that fun stuff, there's a special place for group just in the camaraderie. And I eventually did join a group last year. I bit the bullet and I did it. And I went on a retreat with them, and it was the most phenomenal experience that I will hold forever in my heart. And I think that's the power of what you're helping people do is really see the full potential of their group and how it links into that book. Because again, the book is just a step, right? The group is just a step. It might lead into a one-on-one program. It might lead into another group. So when clients come to you, I'm guessing they're a little like, I want a group, but like what is like an ideal client? Like someone who's coming to you, like where are they at?
So it can be either I want a group and I don't know what to do. It's usually like there's some fear, there's some worry, how do I do it? Where do I start? Or there's somebody who's done a group or two and it just isn't working. They're not getting the magic of groups because here is the truth. You can bring people together in a group and you can have none of the magic we just talked about. That is also happens. I call them crappy groups because the intention behind it is to bring people together. But typically what happens is we overwhelm people with information. It's all about the facilitator and not about the group. It's all about the content and people just kind of start dwindling. So sometimes I have people who have tried the group thing and it just isn't working, but they still know either because it's something they can kind of envision themselves doing or their community is really asking for. And so in that case, we kind of look at what they've done and it's more tweaks and how do we make this work for you versus for those that are like, I don't even know where to begin. Then we start with what is your program promise, which is what are you helping people to accomplish an experience within your group? And that's where we start. We start that with both, but especially for those that haven't had a group yet, that's where we start because everything we do beyond that directly ties back to our program promise.
And I love that because, again, I would love to. Can I just case study my group for you? Because I think
Absolutely.
I am new to groups. I honestly, like you heard, I have objections to them. And so going into now having my own group, I have questions. Will you answer my questions, Carrie?
Absolutely. Let's do
Okay.
it.
So right now, our group program that we're betaing is called Author Allies, and it's the beta is 6 months. And now my gut is telling me that's probably too long for a group. Do you find that there is a sweet spot in length of time for groups?
So there is no right answer to it. Part of it is I think we've convinced ourselves that people won't commit to things for long periods of time because we're in this, instant environment and it's got to be said in 30 seconds or less and all this kind of thing. And what I know for a fact is there are very successful year-long, 2-year, 3-year long programs. So the time frame for a group is very flexible based on what you as the entrepreneur and business owner want to do, right? What's your commitment? And then what is your audience willing to do? Now, 6 months is definitely um, it's possible, and if it's their first introduction to you it might be a big ask, but you also have boot camps and all these things, so I imagine that they've taken something with you. They've consumed this podcast, they've taken a boot camp with you, and now they're saying, I'm really ready and I really want to go into this. So 6 months does not freak me out. And I would ask some people that you would really want in your group to see what their reaction is. And the other part that I put on the timing is it all comes back to your program promise because what are you promising they will accomplish an experience? And is 6 months enough time? Because what I find is a lot of people I talk to do 6-week programs, right? And that's kind of the sweet spot for them. And I'm like, well, what can someone actually accomplish in 6 weeks? And they're like, well, nothing really, because it's more about the information. And so then it's about how do you extend that time so you're not just informing, you're helping them with what I call implementation, which is where they're trying things, they're figuring it out. And ideally, how do you support them in implementation where they're doing the things? It's become kind of normalized for them, and yet they still need support and reminders on what they're doing.
Yeah, okay. You gave me so many things to ask. This is why I love these conversations because you talked about my boot camps, right? We do have a 4-week boot camp that we put all our authors, new authors through to help them plan, understand their outline, their ideal reader, all that jazz. And part of my struggle is I don't know if I should have an evergreen program where people can just come in, but then they're all coming in at different spots, right? And so you're talking about the journey, right? So my vision is that anybody that gets enrolled in our group program has gone through the boot camp. So they're coming in with that base level. And that sounds like what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's really interesting because in the market right now, what's happening is there's this push and this interest in evergreen because people are burnt out from what I call the launch lead launch burnout cycle. And that's where we're launching our group, we're leading it, now we have to launch the next one. And there's like high energy the whole way through. And so what we think is, well, if I do an evergreen, I can remove that launch kind of pressure and I can just be more about leading. And what my perspective on that is that you then are in constant low level launch energy. So it doesn't go away. And to your point, Larissa, for me, what really gets missed often in most evergreen programs is there isn't that sense of cohort. So I didn't start with the same people. I come in and there's, 20 people already ahead of me that I think have this cohort that they're all tight. And here I am, and I'm just trying to kind of find my way. So if we go evergreen, it's really about how do you create that cohort experience for people, and it's challenging. The other part with evergreen that I find is most people feel this pressure to have to constantly add content to keep people in it. And so all those pieces that you thought you were walking away from a burnout standpoint actually come with you, but now you're doing it over a long period of time. And the other thing is in that burnout cycle, in that lead part, you're doing too much because you think you are the group. So you're focused on content. You're trying to share everything. You're making everything about you versus when you really do focus on connection, there's less work for you to do. Like I had one client say to me, should it really be this easy? And I'm like, yes, yes, it should. And then the other part about that is when you have a group that people connect in and they get results in, they want to keep going. So they either want to do your program again because there's value in repeating it, or they're asking you, what's the next level? And then you're able to get them into that one, and they're referring people for the next one. And so that's how you step away from that launch lead, launch burnout cycle.
That is amazing. Okay, we're going to take a really quick commercial break to talk about the book that we have coming up. And then I'm going to carry on that commercial because I have questions about the book and the community and how they really link together. So we'll be right back with that. Are you hoping 2025 will be the year you write your brand-centered book? Or maybe you have a business book that isn't doing what you want? No matter where you are on your authorpreneur journey, we have the secret to your success, and we're going to give it to you for free. In our new book, Author Your Way to Your Next 100K, we share with you the formula and tools to guarantee your business book is a success. Within the pages of Author Your Way to Your Next 100K, you will learn from the expertise of a nonfiction publisher and the real-life examples of authors who have seen incredible success using our proven strategies. We're also going to give you access to our workbook, where you can tangibly assess where in your business a book can make the biggest impact for you. This book and the companion workbook are specifically built to help entrepreneurs like you write and sell a book that converts readers into clients with the power of artful invitation and deliberate storytelling. At Next Page Publishing, we believe in helping you achieve massive returns on your investments. Your time, energy, skill, and experiences are valuable, and you deserve to create a tool that matches your worth. This book is our gift to you. Visit nextpagepublishing.net/authoryourway to access your free copy today. Okay, we are back with Kerry Dobson, and we are talking about how group coaching and authorship really go hand in hand. And I talk about this a lot in our new book, Author Your Way, that's coming out later in 2025, about how you have to pick a marketing strategy or an offer strategy that you enjoy. And I think that was the big struggle for me. I actually don't like groups. And so I had to partner with someone who does like groups, and they are going to be facilitating it on my behalf with, Next Page Publishing's morals and values and teachings in hand. But, I still, at the end of the day, the book that we're creating, it is my baby, right? I think all authors will say that, or they should. I hope they do, that they hold their book to their chest and go, oh, I love you, after they've read it and edited it, and like give it a year. I don't love my book when they're first published. I'm like, please no. But a year
We
later, I'm
need
like,
that
oh, look at that
time.
little sweet thing, right?
Totally.
And so everything, like, if you're looking at my scenario, I don't like groups. I don't want to do group coaching. That's not where I thrive. I thrive in one-on-one. But I wanted to set my team up for success. This external coach that I brought in, I wanted to set her up for success in understanding what is important to Next Page Publishing and how we teach. I put a lot of those fundamentals in our new book. And so you talked about linking the book and the group together. I mean, that's just one example, like setting my internal team up for success. But what about how would you recommend? Just give us a couple, because I'm sure there are a million ways, like all marketing, but a couple of ways to integrate the book into the group.
So I joke with my author clients because I'm like, remember how when you first started writing the book, you had all this information and you squished it down into your book? Well, I'm going to come in and squeeze you even more because everything you do in the book is probably not covered in a group unless you're doing like a longer, like a year-long group and that kind of thing, right? And so the point is what are the key messages? And what are the key activities and experiences that people need to have in order to take action and get results on what you're promising them in that program promise? So, what I typically do is say, pick at most your three top key messages from your book, and then start figuring out what are those activities? What are those experiences? How can I help people actually have that experience? And then don't make anything, go talk to people. And what I love to say is find like 3 to 5 people who, if they were in your group, you would be so stoked, so excited about, and have a conversation with them and say, I'm thinking about doing this group. This is the program promise. These are some of the experiences you would have in it. What do you think? And get some feedback, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to build this whole thing around your whole book, build it, and then dun, dun, no one's interested, right? Which is just such it's heartbreaking, but it's also frustrating and it's a waste of time and energy. So you want to kind of go and check in. So that's the process. If it was with what you're talking about, where it's kind of somebody else who's doing it, first and foremost, I just want to applaud you on not trying to push forward with having a group. I swear half the conversations I have when I'm just meeting people is don't have a group. It's
Mhm.
okay. Because there's this pressure that this is the way you scale, right? This is the only way to make money as an entrepreneur. This is the only way to make that next level. And it's just not true. But if you're interested in groups, then how do you move forward and how do you deal with the fear and how do you put all that together? So I don't know if that answers your question, but
It does, and I want to highlight again the thing that I pulled out the most that aligns with the authorship side of things. Like when our new authors come to us again in that boot camp, one of the first things we do is what's the top 3 things you want your authors, your readers to take away, right? And
right.
then I usually tell them, because the reality is that we are like goldfish. And have you seen the attention span of a goldfish? It's like 0.7 seconds or something. Like it circles around and eats its own poop like over and over again, right? We are goldfish, little sophisticated. Like I got thumbs, thank you very much. But at the end of the day, you put me in a 12-week group program, I'm going to take away probably 2 to 3 key lessons. And it's the same with your book.
100%. And that is success. Because if you build it right, you're not loading it with 20 key messages. You're loading it with those 2 to 3 key messages. And you're giving people that opportunity to practice, to implement, to get comfortable with it, to fail at it, to come back
Mhm.
and celebrate the successes and to keep moving forward. And so it's about really, I often say to people, it's about curating what is the most important, because your wisdom was developed over years, right?
Mhm.
And you can't remember what it was like when you didn't have that knowledge. So you, coming from such a great place, want to give them everything they might possibly need, and you will overwhelm them and it will actually stop them from doing anything. So yeah, it's that key messages, and then not feeling this pressure that you have to do more and more in the group. It's more and more implementation and integration that you want to focus on.
Yeah. I think you said some really great things in there. My ADHD brain's going to try and hold on to both of them. Though the one thing was the safety to fail. As entrepreneurs, as an entrepreneur who put myself in a stupid little bubble and thought I had to do it all by myself, that risk of failure meant popping my bubble, and it felt like I would never ever recover from it because I didn't have that safe place. I didn't have someone to dust me off and say all the inspirational stuff that I would say to my clients about failure, right? Like nobody was turning that back on me. And I think group coordinators and group facilitators have such a huge role to play in that and who they're inviting in so that it does feel safe. I think when you and I started talking, and then you reminded me we've ever actually met face to face, I was like, really? Because it feels like I've known you forever. And as a group facilitator, that is part of your job, is who you're bringing in so that we can feel safe to fail. Like I would not be afraid to fail in front of you.
Well, thank you. That means so much to me. Honestly, it does. And the number one decision you make for that will determine the success of your group is who you allow in it. And this is so hard because as entrepreneurs, we're trying to fill our group so we can make revenue and we can have our business and we can be successful. And yet, when we choose poorly, it actually impacts the rest of the group. So first and foremost, who you allow into it is really important. I specialize and focus on really intimate groups where it's between 6 and 20 people. That's to me, that's the sweet spot if you want connection and results. Anything bigger than that, and it gets a little funky. But why I think that's important is because these people will work with each other. If it's 6 to 20 people, everybody's going to interact with each other. And what you want to do is make sure it's a safe space. The second part that I would say to safety is it's all about how you start that first session. And so many of us start that first sessions by saying, "Hi, I'm Kerry. I'm here to help you with groups. Let me tell you all about what I know." And the reality is you need to create a safe environment by having them create the environment with you. So it's not about you coming in and talking about yourself. They know who you are. They bought your group. It's not about you coming in and telling them the rules or the way that this will happen. It's about you co-creating a safe space, getting them to talk about what do they need in order to feel safe. What does confidentiality mean to them? What does participation mean to them? What does responsibility and accountability mean to them? And so it really is about inviting them to co-create that environment with you. And that's what creates safety. The other plus is that when it's co-created that way, they will each hold each other accountable to it. And you don't have to play this, school teacher, this is my class role that I do see some people do when it comes to groups.
Yeah. I want to touch on that before I go back to the other thing. I think a lot of that control of feeling like you need to control the environment and the vibe and the energy of a group comes from a fear-based place. Like it's probably one of the reasons why I am so hesitant to get into the group because I am afraid to allow something beyond my control under my brand fester, not fester. That's the see even my word choice tells you where my
Totally.
mindset is with this. But that
Yes.
is why I went with the who, not how. Like who can I bring in? Who's going to be better at this than me? Who's going to be able to create that environment? So if you take nothing else from this episode with Kerry, just take the last like 60 seconds of what she said because that's the fundamentals. That was beautiful, beautifully done. The thing that I want to go back to that you said earlier was talking about overwhelm in our teaching and picking those top 1 to 3 things. I think that is such a tip for everything we do, our social media posts, our lives, our events, our podcast interviews. Again, when you go on a podcast, I go in with my top 1 to 3 things I want people to walk away with, right? They'll even ask you that in the show notes. What is your action? What's your takeaway? Because again, goldfish brain over here, I'm not going to take everything anyways, so like facilitate my learning, please.
Absolutely. Like it is impossible for people to take in the information and take action on all this stuff, right? That's where the overwhelm comes. And then you feel like a failure as the participant because you didn't do it. So then you stop showing up. You don't ask questions because you feel like the only person who didn't get it. And then suddenly you've got this group that started with 20 people and now maybe 2 people are consistently showing up, right? That's the trajectory of it. And the reality is that we are wired to have the same day as we did yesterday. Our brain is working, our body is working for us to have the same day. So when we're trying to help people think differently, act differently, do differently, that takes time. It takes safety, as we talked about with that failure piece, and it takes recognition or celebration when we actually do it because we want to kind of get our brain and our body thinking, this feels good, this feels good. Let's keep doing this.
Yeah, it's almost that comfort zone, right? Like I am happy to be uncomfortable because it means I'm growing, right? And again, that back to that safety piece you were talking about, safety within your group. When it gets too uncomfortable, I have a group to go back on. Right? When
Exactly.
I do feel like I'm on that cusp of falling down and I'm never going to get back up, which I'm sure we've all been, like, have we all cried on the kitchen floor before as entrepreneurs?
Totally.
Absolutely. We all have. I mean, let's just own that. But to have a group to fall back on when things do get tough, when those 3 fundamental lessons, I mean, entrepreneurship, you can really boil it down to like a few fundamental things. It's marketing, it's mindset, and it's business sense. I mean, if you, the mindset being the hardest one ever, but if you boil it down, that's the three things I need to be successful. Well, then give me the safety of a space to practice and fail. Oh my God, Carrie, I cannot tell you how much I love that and how much this is changing my outlook for what author allies can be for people.
Love it. That's awesome.
It's so good. So, Carrie, I do want to make sure people can get in touch with you because this has been such an amazing episode. So, how can people reach you?
So, the place that I spend the most time on is definitely LinkedIn. So, from a social media standpoint, or just kind of seeing what I'm putting out there, that's a great place to go. And the even better place is I have a private podcast called The Great Group Revolution. And on there, every 2 weeks, I put out a new episode where we talk about these pieces of the puzzle of putting groups together. They're 15 minutes or less. It's a free podcast. It's not a paid one, but you do have to sign up for it. Once you sign up for it, it appears in your Apple or Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. And every episode includes an invitation for an action that you can take in your group right now.
Oh my gosh, I love that, Carrie. Thank you so much. And we're going to make sure we put all those links down in the show notes so that you can go check out the podcast, her website, because I definitely think there's going to be a lot of resources in there. And again, that ability to dig into the topic that's really relevant to you right now, the questions you have top of mind, because those were my top three questions. I'm sure if you're further down the group chain than I am, or you have a group that you're struggling with, Carrie's going to have a lot of wonderful resources in there. Okay, Carrie, I have one more question that I ask all my guests. What advice do you have for aspiring authors?
So, for those that haven't written their book yet, write the book and get help with it. For those that have written the book or have that like real kind of almost at that point of writing the book, what's next? Ask yourself that and have a plan for it as you finish off your book, as you go off into your book launch. How are you going to help people in actually taking the information you have in your book and implementing it? Obviously, my bias is groups, but there's other ways to do it. But just make sure you're answering that question of what's next for your readers.
Absolutely. That client journey, right? The map where your book is a step. So what comes before, what comes after. I love that. Thank you so very much, Carrie. This was an excellent time. Thanks for tuning in to I Wrote That. Don't forget to download your free copy of Author Your Way to kickstart your journey as an entrepreneur. You'll find the link in today's show notes. And if you enjoyed today's episode, we'd love for you to leave us a review. It helps more listeners like you discover the show. Until next time, happy writing.